for hosting me. Thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. And someone's running for office too, right? Someone here running for office.
Ryan is running.
Ryan, nice. Good job.
City Council.
Thank you. Appreciate
Council,
it.
good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Appreciate
running.
it. Thank you.
Thanks for running. Can I stand up?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Go for
Sorry.
it.
You know when you're this tall, you gotta stand up.
I'm also.
What am I doing? What do you
Yeah.
You're giant. It's amazing. First of all, thank you all for doing this. I really appreciate it. I know everyone's very busy, so thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day. It means a lot to me. So thanks.
There's alcohol, so.
Yeah, we know. I got it. You know, you can
You're
like
fine.
pretend like you're here for the right reason, and I got it. You got it. The chips are pretty good too. I understand. So I grew up in Jersey. I'm a Jersey guy. I grew up in North Caldwell, which is Essex County. My grandparents were Linden and Newark, and then my dad was West Orange. So like kind of all around the state. I love Jersey. It is a great place to raise a family. Great schools, great people, but the number one thing I hear no matter where I go in the state of New Jersey is, unsurprisingly, it's just too damn expensive, and like help, right? I don't care, I go to diners a lot. I don't know if you guys like diners, but I'm a diner guy. If I can't get a good Jewish deli, diner's a good backup. And if you need Jewish deli recommendations, I got this. Is there a good Jewish deli right here, by the way?
Nana's Deli just opened here.
Oh, Nana's Deli just opened here? Like Nana's from Livingston?
Yeah.
And
Really?
they're selling Essa Bagels.
They're getting rid of Essa Bagel?
No, Essa Bagel
I know
is
they're selling Essa
They're
Bagel.
selling
serving
Essa
Essa
Bagels.
Bagels in the morning,
It's good
and then
Essa
Nana's
Bagel.
Deli
It's good
now
Essa
has
Bagel.
pastrami.
I always thought Nana's was good, but like Effie's was a little better. Like I said.
I'm
I
gonna
like
tell Nana's
Effie's.
who said that.
They have good tuna fish.
Good tuna fish.
They do.
The Ritz Diner, my grandmother used to make me take her to the Ritz.
Mm.
Of blessed memory. We'd take her to the Ritz Diner, the apple pancakes. If any of you have been there.
Yeah, they're good.
They're very, very good. Sorry, we digress on the food already. That's amazing. To your point.
When you're with a bunch of Jews, it always
This is
I
what
know.
happens.
I got it. There's usually no booze and a lot of food. I grew up in a nice Jewish household where like everything was about food. But people are, so I go to diners, as I was saying, and lots of diners all across the state. And I actually launched my campaign in a diner because I feel like I told my colleagues in Washington this, they're like, you launched your campaign for governor in a diner? I'm like, you don't understand. Everything good starts in Jersey in a diner, and I'll probably eventually get whacked in a diner. That'll be the end of me in the diner. So wherever I go, I sit, and the conversation's pretty much the same in every booth, because I go sit down with people, I pour them some coffee, I talk to them, and they're all saying the same. How are you?
It's my
Josh.
husband.
Oh, that's right. Got it. How are you? Nice to meet
He's
you.
a hottie, isn't
Yeah,
it?
me too. It's fine. Property tax is the highest in the country.
Yeah.
Second highest child care costs in the entire country. Some of the highest income taxes in the entire country. And we know where food prices are, we know where insurance prices are, utility bills, starting in June, I'm sure you know this, will go up another 20%, 40% in 1 year. So people are feeling totally crushed, and they're struggling and trying to figure out how to get by. And you add housing, overall rents, including in Jersey City, rents are up 33% in the last 5 years. And we're net losing jobs and people. So like the state as a whole is bleeding people and jobs, especially people, higher income people, we're losing a lot, and a lot of jobs we're losing. And so when you look at the math, it doesn't add up very well. We've got to figure out a way, which is what I've been doing in the last year and a half with a bunch of experts, like, well, how do we actually get these costs down? How do we get taxes down? What can we do to run the state better? And so I put together a plan, looking at everything, saying, is there a way to actually preserve what we love about this place, but run it more efficiently? How does New York, who sticks it to us every day, and takes our income taxes, if you probably know this, you work in Jersey, you work for New York business, they take $4 billion a year from us in income tax. How do we fight back to get some of that? How do we get more money back from Washington, because we're second worst in the country at getting money back for our schools, for our streets, for our projects, for our colleges? What do we do about that? And so I put together a tax cut plan where I can actually lower property taxes by 15%. I can actually cut income taxes.
50?
50.
Oh, you didn't. See, we're looking for 50.
5.
Middle class families. I wish I could do that. And specifically also help seniors. Because the number one thing people tell me when they complain about how expensive things are, is they say, my kids are graduating and they can't afford to stay here. Mm. Right? And they say, when I retire, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to stay here. And in fact, ARP just did this survey of Jersey 41% of seniors say they're considering leaving the state of New Jersey.
Going to Florida.
Right, a lot of them going to Florida, but a lot of them going to Pennsylvania, right? Right next door to
Cheaper.
Pennsylvania is
North
much
Carolina.
cheaper. We're North Carolina. Massachusetts has lower taxes than we do now. Massachusetts, which is supposed to be Taxachusetts, right? Connecticut just cut their income taxes, and ours everything just keeps going up. So we got to fix this, and it's like my number one obsession is fixing this. Now, since we're also in a room full of fellow Jews, I will tell you that, you know, from a values perspective, I think our state is great, generally. I think it's one of the reasons it's like a great competitive advantage for us. Very big competitive advantage, like whether I'm a huge supporter of reproductive freedom and making sure our air and our water are clean, and I got the first gun safety bill done in 30 years, bipartisan in Congress, like, because I've taken on all these impossible things in Congress where actually I'm not afraid to take on some of the harder things. I wrote the infrastructure bill and helped get that passed to fix our roads and our bridges and the Gateway train tunnel. Got more money for the child tax credit, all bipartisan stuff. But what I've learned the most is what makes us a great state is our value stuff. And then I'll turn around and I'm on the phone, as I just was telling somebody, I was on the phone with Adon, Alexander's dad, as I was pulling up here, which is why I have to leave a little early because there's an issue I gotta get back on the phone. And you know, his kid grew up in Tenafly, New Jersey, right near me, and right, he's been a hostage now for, what are we at, 558? What are we at? What? Anyone know? 560? Anyone know the day? I usually know this in my head, but
Too long.
the point is, it's way too long, and they haven't seen their kid, and we know their kid's been tortured, and we've got one American who alive left to get home, and you know, a lot of places I go, when I show up, I have a nice protest waiting for me. You know, of the pro-Hamas crowd. Same. You know, who like, you know, we're talking about them, right? I saw one waiting for you here tonight.
They like to put us all over the internet.
Yes.
That's their favorite thing to do. They call us the Zionist Six.
Seriously?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say you
Should
should
make
have
t-shirts.
hit
By the
up
way,
our
that's the
city council
nicest thing
meeting
anyone's
last
ever
night.
said about me. I'd be part of the Zionist Six. And, you know, they call me a dirty Zionist. And
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you should take me with you.
By the way,
Or maybe you shouldn't.
562.
Mm.
Thank you. So that, from a value perspective, to me, is not living up to our values as a state right now when it comes to that. By the way, hate against anybody is unacceptable. I think we all agree, whether it's anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. But when you know that Rutgers, which has got the second largest Jewish population in the public school in the country, is one of the worst places of anti-Semitism in the country, you know you have a problem. And when the faculty in December passed a resolution of their faculty senate saying BDS, no money should be allowed to be invested at all from Rutgers into anything tied with Israel, and by the way, no student should be allowed to study in Israel at our public university, that to me is unacceptable, and when I'm governor, that'll end. I'm going to obviously focus on making life more affordable, but I'm going to protect our values. And I think, to me, that's incredibly, incredibly important. We've got 600,000 plus Jews living in the state of New Jersey, and yet when they're blocking shuls, which they are continuing to do in Teaneck, New Jersey, or in Bergenfield, New Jersey, or in Highland Park, New Jersey, or other places around our state, no one is stopping them, right? Because it's one thing to say you should speak your mind. By the way, we have a great country, we're not going to agree on everything, but you should not be able to take away someone else's First Amendment right in the process, which is my issue. You can't block people from going to pray. You should not be able to stop a kid from feeling comfortable to study at Rutgers or going to the library or taking a test because they're Jewish, right? That's unacceptable. By the way, I feel the same way about anybody else. And as governor, like, that will be my guiding value set. And those of you who know about me in Congress and have followed me at all, or looked me up before you got here, or if you do it after, you will see that I've been, if not the most outspoken Democrat in the country when it comes to supporting the importance of the U.S.-Israel relationship, but also standing up to anti-Semitism in the Congress, because there's no room for it. I'm leading the bill called the IRA bill, for the IRA definition. It passed me and a guy named Mike Lawler. It passed out of the Congress last session with 320 votes, with 435. Sat in the Senate, never got brought for a vote. bring it back up. We've got the same bill in the state of New Jersey right now with about 90% of the assembly members in the state sponsoring that bill, and it's yet to go to the floor. Because what's become acceptable increasingly is let's not do anything about this stuff, and the Jewish population will have to deal with it themselves. We should speak out against hate, as I do against any anti-Semitism every time I see it, whenever I get a phone call, wherever it is in the state of New Jersey. And as the only Jewish member of the congressional delegation, I get a lot of calls, right? A lot of calls. I'm the only Jewish member of the Intelligence Committee, not because I'm intelligent, because we oversee the NSA and the CIA and the other organizations you may have heard of. And I'm the only one who does the Middle East on that committee. We all have different specialties. I specialize in the Middle East. So it's been a busy couple of years. And for me, it's pretty simple. I work for the United States of America. Israel is the key ally for us in the region against fighting terror, against a lot of people who wake up every day wanting to undermine our democracy and freedom, right? And anyone who doesn't get that, I say this to my colleagues, I'm like, you may not love Israel, fine, but if you love the United States of America and want to protect the United States of America, you have to support Israel. The reason that she's our key ally in the fight against terror, right? The key ally against Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, all people, the Houthis, all people who wake up every single day with one mission, which is not Israel, it's ultimately the United States of America. And they're not shy about that, right? The foreign minister of Hezbollah, of blessed memory, said something along the effects of our ultimate mission is the United States. Right? I don't have the exact quote in front of me, you can look it up after. The Houthis, what's their flag? Death to the USA, then death to the Jews. So, make no mistake of what they're coming for. Right? It should not be any confusion to anybody, which is why I care about it in Congress. And as a governor, I'm going to teach kids, make sure K-12, because by the time you get to college, it's too late, that we teach kids again about this stuff. And the facts, not revisionist history of the Holocaust. The Shoah is today, as we know, an important day, which breaks my heart that I get decks all the time that people send me from their teachers who come up with new interpretations of what happened in the Shoah, right? Or that we're teaching new facts about October 7th already, right? We know what we're dealing with here, and that's unacceptable, whether that's in Jersey City or anywhere else in the state of New Jersey. So to give you a little taste of what I believe in and what I'm going to fight for as governor, we need good governors. We need courageous governors who are not afraid to stand up and speak out, whether it's on a college campus or in a school, to teach the right values and be willing to stand up. Again, I'm not afraid to do impossible things. People will tell you, oh, you can't make New Jersey more affordable. That's BS. Other states have figured out how to do it. We can also figure out how to do it. This stuff's not impossible. You just have to be willing to be fearless and take it on. And that's what you get with me, right? Someone who solves problems, unafraid. My job is to get your back and fight, and I get beaten up a little bit. When I started in Congress, I was 6'2". I was basically your height. It's been rough. It's a rough place. And with that, I will answer any questions.
I mean, you already honestly answered all my questions.
I have a question.
Okay, go for it.
So, in today's political climate, where there's so much polarization, as someone who's in Washington, how do you think you could break through that? I feel like everything has become very identity politics.
Yeah.
And there's no kind of common sense anymore. Trump is, trying to make sure that campuses are safer for Jews. I don't know why he's doing it, but now all of a sudden, I see all these people who are progressive, and all of a sudden they're against, fighting anti-Semitism on campuses. So I'm just curious, as someone who's in Washington right now, in the middle of this, this environment, how do you think you move forward as a country, and especially, running the state, to kind of be able to make things happen through all of these, division between Republicans and Democrats?
Well, what I've kind of learned is, and the way we got infrastructure done, or PACT Act to help veterans, or even helping expand the child tax credit, which was bipartisan in the end, the way you get most stuff done is you have to be willing to talk to people and to listen to them, and to figure out actually what matters to them. And you got to be willing to accept an 80% solution, not insist on 100%. If you want 100% of anything, it's very difficult, and you'll probably never get anything done. So you'll get 100% of nothing is nothing, right? And I find that, and I've learned that you got to take a great win and then fight the next 20% the next day. And I think Yeah, it's a very tough moment in our history. I'm not going to BS you. Like, it is. It's a very tough moment. When you got a president who's running on chaos, right? And every day he's coming at 5 different things that matter, whether it's Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid or veterans or the FAA or NOAA, like, or NIH and healthcare. Every day there's a new fight, and we got to be, we got to fight. I'm gonna have the governor you screw with Jersey families, I'm gonna mess with you back, right? That's the bottom line. But if you want to do something with us, great. I'll talk to you, right? If you want to help us. And I think you got to look at things that way and be willing to engage. Today, this morning, I got 100 members of Congress, led by a Republican colleague of mine, to stand up to write a letter to the president and say, you cannot gut funding for domestic violence centers, which they did. They went after it, right? And I got a bunch of Republicans, believe it or not. Are they okay?
Oh, there's a possum.
Oh.
Over there.
With the
I
GoPro.
mean, you're doing well. While you're doing well, and the possum is more exciting than you are.
Hudson County. This is Hudson County.
It's exciting to have a
We
possum.
live in the cities, so when there's wild animals, everyone's
Wildlife.
like, why are there not?
Josh, the wildlife here is real.
It's
It's a thing.
This is the,
Yes,
The embankment.
But yes, and I'll just finish, and then we'll take your question. I'll just finish by saying, so you just actually have to be willing to talk to people and engage with them, and listen, fight with them when you got to, but be willing to talk with them when they want to get something done. It's a tough, particularly tough moment now, but it'll thaw, because at the end of the day, there's a 3-seat majority in the House of Representatives, and they're fighting with each other more and more. The tariffs are causing huge impact on prices in the economy, people's retirement savings, and Republicans are dealing with when they go home too. And that's just a reality. So you're seeing more and more of them finally start to raise their hand. Not enough of not enough of profiles and courage, but the bottom line, you're seeing more of it. But you have to be willing to actually engage, and that's what I've learned through all this. Right? You can't just walk away and turn your back. And it's nice to tweet and scream and yell, like that's great, except that you actually have to govern the country too. And so that's when you got to get work done. If that makes sense. Your mom, I think, had a question.
Yeah. I mean, I'm born, raised, I'm a Jersey girl.
Love it.
And I realized that North Jersey is way different than South Jersey. All the different areas of New Jersey have different priorities. So, my question to you, if you were the governor, is how do you assign priorities to,
Well, when I'm the governor, wrong subjunctive.
assign priorities
Yeah.
to, whose priorities are.
So I don't really look at it that. It's a great question, but I don't really see it that way. Like, first of all, everybody wherever I go in Jersey, no matter where you're from or what your station is in life right now, cares about being able to buy food, put clothing on their kids' back, see their family, and not have to leave the state. That is universal across the state. It's one state. Yeah, people have different priorities. I represent some rural parts of the state right now that are different than an urban area, right? They got some different interests. But at the end of the day, they care about being able to pay their bills and lower taxes too, and affordability. It doesn't, right? That's the same issue. I think you then have got to deal with particular issues, right? To make sure Jersey City, which the taxes and the costs in Jersey City just keep going up and up and up. And a lot of these places we don't have nearly enough housing that's affordable across the state of New Jersey, not just here. We're 220,000 housing units short of where we should do, and building or doing anything in New Jersey, is not easy. It's not, as you know, not exactly a friendly place to operate either a small business or to do anything, build anything, change anything, right? We have so many layers that leads to more costs and just massive delays. And so the bottom line is we got to run. These are the kind of things where if we were smarter about this, we have 564 towns or cities in the state of New Jersey, more superintendents than mayors. We buy, mostly in our small towns, we literally buy things like salt and paper towels by the individual town, and our healthcare and the healthcare negotiations, the prescription drug negotiations by town. We go to Wawa and pay full retail for everything instead of Costco and buying 500 rolls of toilet paper. It makes no sense. I don't like paying retail, right? We pay a lot of retail on a lot of things. We don't run things well. and that affects the whole state. And we could do a lot more everywhere for the state if we fix some of these things. It's ridiculous.
Why do you think it developed
that
that
way?
way?
My question is that your priority is to make it better for everyone.
For everybody.
No, just
I
for the
don't-
people
I'm not-
here. I thought.
I'm not, as much as I love you guys, like, I gotta help the whole state. And by the way, the southern part of the state has no mass transit really, is hugely under, like we could be doing a lot better if we invested more. They tend to be left out, which doesn't make any sense because it's a huge economic engine opportunity for the state of New Jersey. Right? It may be the Philadelphia media market, it may be the Eagles, who I can't stand. Right? But the bottom line is we should be thinking of it as one state and not in pieces, which doesn't make any sense to me. It's one economy.
So Representative Gottheimer, I just wanted to
Josh,
say thank
Simon,
Josh, thank
thank
you. Thank you very much for bringing up that you wanted to pass the IRHA bill. I'm a history teacher in a public high school in
Nice.
New Jersey. Thank you. And one thing I was thinking about how to possibly improve maybe civics education is I do a poll, like a lot of different polls for my students on basic knowledge. And what's fascinating, a lot of the kids that I realize, I asked, for instance, one question, do you know what the Holocaust is? You'd be surprised, but I have a lot of kids that say no. But I realized something, a lot of my kids that say no, they don't speak English. A lot of them are ELL students. I also have a lot of kids with IEPs that don't say that they know it. But anyhow, I guess my question is this. Is there a role for the state of New Jersey maybe to have a more hands-on approach when it comes to civics education, perhaps, I don't know, having like polling data, like we have data for math, we have data for English, but like we're leaving civics to social media, like it's kind of crazy.
Yep.
A lot of my students, I've heard them, well, I don't trust my teachers because the government's trying to control us, I trust TikTok.
Yeah.
So what can we do to try on a
Well,
positive
as
way?
one
you know?
of the
Oh,
people,
media literacy.
We are doomed.
and by the way, as
No,
one of
I
my,
don't think we're
Vote
looking
for
at
a Chinese
opportunity.
Your
company.
students actually tell you that they trust TikTok more than.
Well, yeah, I had a student. Well, so
Yeah,
this is
of
also
course.
post George Floyd moment. I teach in a predominantly Dominican, Puerto Rican, African American community. A lot of lovely, really great kids. But I had one student who was very conspiratorial, and she kind of believed that the teachers were against it. Now, there are some teachers, I think, excuse my French, have a little bit fucked up views, but like, you know, you can't change the views or challenge everyone's views of a teacher. But at the end of the day, still, I think there's this lack of trust between students and sometimes teachers, especially when it comes to civics. And I think data would really be important. I don't know, it's just an idea.
I think, so here's the reality, especially with things like TikTok, and my daughter, I've got a 15, almost 16-year-old daughter, and a 13-year-old boy. So I have my hands full. My son is like in his bra phase. I don't know anything he says. I understand like one out of every 5 things he says.
Did he have a bar mitzvah?
So he just got bar mitzvah a couple weeks
That's
ago.
awesome.
March 6th, it was great.
At least you got him there. Aris
We got. By the way, I
no.
thought, and also like 2 weeks before, he's with the rabbi. We're doing the final rehearsal, and at the end, the rabbi was like, "Well, you got about like 80% of it, Ben." And he's like, "Well, that's a B, Dad." No. Anyway.
Hilarious.
Yes, he's like, "Well, I don't think anyone will really notice if I don't know the Shema." So, I'm one of the authors of the bill that is saying TikTok should be banned or for sale, which President Trump has reversed course on. And it's the #1 news source if you're under 30.
Which is
number
bad.
one,
Yes.
which is a disaster.
Is
And
it
as
the
you
number
know,
one
it's
news source?
Yes.
#1
Yeah.
news source if
Correct.
you're under
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
It is 170 million Americans are on it. It is controlled by our #1 enemy, China. Right? China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran are our top enemies. And China controls this #1 disinformation tool in our society, and we let it happen. And that's why we voted in a bipartisan way within days to ban it or to force the sale, which is obviously not. It keeps delaying and extending the deadline, which makes no sense because our kids, this is where they get their information. And yeah, they don't trust things, right? They don't trust the news media. They don't trust teachers. They don't trust what they read anymore. Like they think it's all a scam, right? And it's a huge problem. By the way, especially when you're thinking of things like Holocaust denial,
Yeah.
you know, and other things of that nature. It's what we're dealing with. And yeah, the to me, the civics, you talk about civics, like I want to bring civics back. We don't teach civics anymore, basic civics anymore, right? Meaning like we don't teach like and we don't teach basic things like, oh yeah, how to like balance your bank account.
Well, senior year, they don't
Right.
have an extra, they're not required to do an extra year of the history or social studies. They have a free year. I don't
Really?
know. Yeah. They do 2 years of U.S. History and 1 year of world, and then like that's it. I think maybe an extra year mandatory for graduating credit would be really important. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just an idea.
So it's a good idea. Any other?
Last question.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No.
So it sounds like you already have a lot on your plate and a lot of things that you want to accomplish. When you become governor, what's your like 100-day plan?
Better than Trump's. My 100-day plan is if you notice, like my central theme here is I'm focused on affordability, right? And so the number one thing I'm going to do on day one is order the actual efficiency study that 20 other states have done to look at how they run their government so we can run it smarter, right? 20 other states, including New York and California, have done these studies, and we've never done one. Actually look at the government, analyze it, and say, how do we run this better? I'm going to immediately start figuring out how we can get housing, like meet with people to figure out how we can actually develop more housing that's affordable. And like, because you got to go fast in that to actually get it done, because that takes time. And when it comes to looking at taxes and costs and childcare costs and pre-K, which I'm supporting, I want to do universal pre-K and all-day kindergarten,
What about maternity
which we
leave?
Good question.
But I think the first thing you got to do is actually assess where you are. And unlike Trump, who just like started taking an axe to everything, that's not the way you should. We have no business plan for a state, and you actually have to have a strategy and a plan, and then you execute against that plan. So right now I'm working on my plan, and I have a plan, and I'm going to execute on that plan, and go fast. And when we have problems, we don't know where we're going to be with Trump and what things that they're going to be doing and attacking our state or affecting our budgets or affecting things. But that's the kind of thing you're going to have to respond to, and be quick at it, and be willing to fight, and get around the state and make it very clear that we got to run things a little differently. And I'm also going to be probably running around the country trying to get more jobs to the state fast, because we've got to grow.
What
Maybe
kind
you
of
can
jobs
get
do you want?
tariffs here in New Jersey.
What kind of jobs?
Yes,
I
what
mean,
kind?
I think, listen, we've got, the good news is, where are we good? You start with where you're good. We're very good at life sciences and have a great history.
Pharma.
Very good at financial stuff, fintech. And we've got some good tech base, although a lot of our policies on tech, our tax policies discourage people from actually wanting to start businesses in technology in New Jersey. But those are two base areas. I also think we have a lot of great history in ecotourism. We've got great ecotourism that we don't really promote enough.
It's true.
And it doesn't make any sense. We have in our history points, but certainly not doing it enough right now. So I look at this and say, there's a lot of, and AI is going to affect all this, right? And we know that, and we don't have enough energy right now. And energy is key to actually what the future of what AI affecting everything is going to be part of. So we have a lot of work to do. And I got to build a good government with a lot of good people. So if any of you are looking, we'll look pretty fast. We need a lot of smart people who are willing to actually step up and go in and help fix this and turn it around, because it's a team sport. All this is a team sport, right? The good news is you got a couple of us who are leading the